Number they sent me to watch humans at war, and I regret it deeply. Tovan stood in the great chamber of the Galactic Council and tried not to let his fear show. Around him, beings from 100 different worlds watched with their many eyes. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some, like Tovan, had soft blue skin that changed color with emotion. Right now, his skin was pale with nervousness. "You understand the mission?" Elder Miran asked. The old Keyleth floated beside Tovan, his body round and gentle like all their kind. "You will observe, nothing more. You will watch how humans fight their wars, and you will report back to us." "I understand," Tovan said. His voice was steady, even if his hearts were not. The Council had been watching humanity for 50 years now. They had studied human art, human music, human science. But they had never seen humans at war. Not really. Small conflicts. Yes, police actions. Border disputes that lasted days, but never a true war. Now, that had changed. The Vareth Dominion had attacked a human mining colony called Heron 7. The humans had responded with a declaration of war, and the Council needed to know what they were dealing with. "Other observers have watched humans in battle," Elder Miran said quietly, so only Tovan could hear. "They came back. Different. Different how?" The Elder's skin flickered through colors Tovan could not read. "They stopped believing that the galaxy made sense." Tovan wanted to laugh. Humans were a young species. They had been traveling between stars for only 300 years. The Keyleth had been a spacefaring civilization for 12,000 years. What could humans possibly show him that would shake his understanding of the universe? "I will be fine," Tovan said. "They are just humans." Elder Miran looked at him with old, tired eyes. "That is what worries me." 3 days later, Tovan's transport ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a human military station. The station hung in space like a gray metal flower. Its petals spread wide to catch the light of the nearby star. Human ships moved around it like insects around a hive. Tovan had never seen so many warships in one place. A human shuttle came to collect him. Inside, he found a single human waiting. The human was male, with dark hair cut short and brown eyes that seemed to smile even when his mouth did not. He wore a uniform of dark green and carried no weapons that Tovan could see. "Observer Tovan?" the human asked. His voice was warm. "I'm Lieutenant Dohyun. I'll be your guide." Tovan bowed in the Keyleth way, bending his body forward. "Thank you for receiving me, Lieutenant. I know this is unusual. Having an alien watch us fight? Yeah, a little." Dohyun smiled. It was a strange expression. Tovan's people did not smile. They changed colors to show happiness, but humans pulled their lips back to show their teeth, the same teeth they used to tear meat from bones. "But the brass says we should be open about how we operate. Hearts and minds, you know?" Tovan did not know, but he nodded anyway. The shuttle took them down to a planet's surface. Tovan looked out the window and saw brown earth and gray buildings and humans everywhere. They moved with purpose, carrying equipment, checking weapons, talking in small groups. Some of them laughed. That surprised him. "They seem happy," Tovan said. Dohyun glanced out the window. "They're not happy. They're just together. There's a difference." Tovan did not understand, but he filed the observation away. The forward operating base was loud and busy. Tovan was given a small room with a bed he could not use and a computer he could barely operate. He was told he could go anywhere except the command center, and that someone would always be nearby to answer his questions. That night, he walked through the base and watched the humans prepare for war. They did not act like beings about to kill and die. In one building, he found a group of humans sitting around a table, eating food from metal containers. One of them was telling a story, waving his hands in the air. The others laughed. A young woman with short hair punched the storyteller in the shoulder, and he pretended to be hurt. Tovan watched from the doorway, confused. "Want some?" A voice came from beside him. Tovan turned and found a human woman standing there. She was small, with a kind face and gentle eyes. Her uniform had a red symbol on the arm, the mark of a medic. The food's not great, but it's warm. I cannot eat human food, Tovin said. My biology is different. Oh, right. Sorry. She did not seem bothered by his refusal. I'm Private Una. You're the observer, right? The Kielith? Yes, my name is Tovin. Nice to meet you, Tovin. She held out her hand. Tovin had read about this custom. He reached out and let her grip his fingers. Her hand was warm. Don't worry. We don't bite. Well, Tysoon bites. But only when he's drunk. From inside the room, someone shouted, I heard that. Una grinned. You should come in. Get to know us before tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? The smile faded a little. Tomorrow, we fight. Tovin sat with them that night. He did not eat, but he listened. They told stories about their homes, their families, their dreams. One soldier talked about his daughter learning to walk. Another talked about the restaurant she wanted to open when the war was over. A third showed pictures of a small animal called a cat. None of them talked about killing. None of them talked about death. It was as if tomorrow did not exist. Later, back in his room, Tovin began his first report to the council. Day 1, he wrote. I have arrived at the Human Forward Operating Base. Tomorrow, combat operations will begin against Varith forces holding the colony of Heron 7. He paused, thinking about what he had seen. Initial observations suggest humans are poorly prepared for warfare. They show no signs of mental preparation for violence. They laugh and eat and share stories as if tomorrow is not coming. They seem unaware of their own mortality. He paused again. This may be their greatest weakness. A species that cannot face the reality of death cannot fight effectively. I expect human casualties to be high, and human morale to collapse quickly once battle begins. He saved the report and prepared for sleep. In the morning, he would learn how wrong he was. He would learn that humans did not ignore death. They simply refused to let it stop them from living. And that made all the difference. They sent me to watch humans at war, and I regret it deeply. The morning came too fast. Tovin was woken by the sound of boots on metal floors. Hundreds of boots. Thousands. The humans were moving, and they moved like water flowing downhill. Smooth. Unstoppable. Certain. Lieutenant Do-hyun found him in the corridor. Stay close to me, he said. His face was calm, but his eyes were different now, harder. You'll be with Sergeant Jihae's squad. She'll keep you alive. I am only here to observe, Tovin said. I am not part of this fight. Do-hyun looked at him for a long moment. The Varith don't know that. To them, you're just another target. They took a transport ship down to the surface of Heron 7. The colony was built into the side of a mountain, with deep mines running beneath the stone. The Varith had taken the main complex 3 weeks ago. Now the humans were taking it back. Tovin sat in the transport with Sergeant Jihae's squad. There were 8 of them, including Jihae herself. She was a woman of medium height, with a face that showed nothing. Not fear, not excitement, not anger, just focus. Beside her sat Corporal Tysoon, the heavy weapons specialist. He was large, with thick arms and a wide smile. As the transport shook and rattled through the sky, he hummed a tune under his breath. Are you not afraid? Tovin asked him. Tysoon stopped humming. He looked at Tovin with genuine surprise. Of course I'm afraid. I'm terrified. But you are. Singing. Humming. And yeah. Tysoon shrugged his massive shoulders. Fear doesn't go away just because you ignore it. So, I hum. It helps. Tovin did not understand. His people felt fear so strongly that it paralyzed them. When a Keyleth was afraid, they could not move, could not think, could not act. It was why his species had never fought wars. The very idea of violence triggered a shutdown response that made fighting impossible. But these humans felt fear and moved anyway. Private Una sat across from Tovin. She had a bag of medical supplies on her lap and was checking each item with careful hands. When she saw Tovan watching, she smiled. "You'll be okay," she said. "Stick with us." "I am more worried about you," Tovan admitted. "You are going to fight." "Yeah." Her smile did not fade. "That's the job." The transport landed hard. The door opened. And suddenly, Tovan was in a war. The noise was the first thing he noticed. Explosions. Screaming. The sharp crack of weapons firing. The air smelled like smoke, and something else, something copper and wrong. Later, he would learn that smell was blood. Sergeant Jihye led them through broken streets. Buildings had collapsed into piles of rubble. Fires burned in windows. Bodies lay on the ground, human and Varith both. Tovan tried not to look at them. "Contact left," someone shouted. And then the Varith were there. They came out of a ruined building, their gray armor catching the light. Tovan's body froze. Every instinct told him to run, to hide, to disappear. But his legs would not move. Sergeant Jihye moved like water. She raised her weapon and fired 3 times. 3 Varith soldiers fell. She was already moving before they hit the ground, shouting orders that Tovan could not understand. "Cover, Taisun, suppressing fire. Yuna, stay with the observer." The squad responded instantly. They spread out, taking positions behind rubble and broken walls. Their weapons roared. The Varith fired back, and Tovan saw bright plasma bolts streak through the air. One of those bolts hit Corporal Taisun. It struck his shoulder and spun him around. Tovan saw the wound black and burned, smoking. He waited for Taisun to fall. He waited for the screaming to start. Taisun steadied himself, raised his weapon with his good arm, and kept firing. "That hurt," he shouted. But he was laughing. Laughing. "Yuna, I'm going to need you in a minute." "Get in line," Yuna called back. She was crouched beside Tovan, her weapon ready, her eyes scanning for threats. The battle lasted 4 minutes. It felt like 4 hours. When it was over, 5 Varith lay dead. The squad had taken 3 wounded, including Taisun. None dead. Tovan watched Yuna work on Taisun's shoulder. Her hands moved with practiced speed, cleaning the wound, applying medicine, wrapping bandages. Taisun sat still and let her work, though his face was tight with pain. "You should rest," Tovan said. "Your injury is severe." Taisun looked at him. "Can't rest. We're not done." "But the pain hurts like hell." Taisun grinned, though it did not reach his eyes. "But the Varith are still holding prisoners in that complex. People from this colony. Families, kids." He shook his head. "Pain's just pain. Those people need help." Tovan's species would have calculated the risk. They would have weighed Taisun's injury against the mission's success rate. They would have concluded, logically, that an injured soldier should fall back. Taisun did not calculate. He simply refused to stop. They moved on. An hour later, they found the first survivors. A family was hiding in a basement, 2 adults and a child. The girl was young, perhaps 8 years old by human standards. She had dirt on her face and terror in her eyes. When the squad entered, she screamed. Sergeant Jihye stopped. Her hard face softened. "It's okay," she said. Her voice was gentle now. Nothing like the sharp commands from battle. "We're human. We're here to help." The girl's parents held her tight. They were crying. Tovan had never seen adults cry before. His people did not produce tears. Private Yuna knelt down beside the family. "Are any of you hurt?" "No," the father said. "No, we hid. We've been hiding for weeks. You're safe now." Yuna smiled at the little girl. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated. "Mireille." "That's a beautiful name. Mireille, are you hungry?" Mireille nodded slowly. Yuna reached into her pack and pulled out a small package. Emergency rations. Tovan knew they were precious. Each soldier only carried enough for themselves. But Yuna handed the food to Mireille without hesitation. "Here, eat slow, okay? Your stomach needs to remember how." Lieutenant Do-hyun appeared in the doorway. He took in the scene and nodded. "We'll get them to the rear lines." "Jihye." Your squad stays on mission. Understood. Jihei stood, and her face was hard again, but Tovan had seen it soften. He would not forget. Before they left, Do-hyun did something strange. He took off his outer jacket, the one with thermal lining, designed to keep soldiers warm in cold conditions, and wrapped it around Mirei's shoulders. Keep this, he said. It'll keep you warm until we get you home. Without the jacket, Do-hyun would be cold. The nights on Heron 7 were freezing. He would suffer. He did not seem to care. Tovan walked beside Yuna as they moved out. His mind was spinning. Nothing made sense. Why did he do that? He asked. The lieutenant. He will be cold now. Yuna glanced at him. Because she was scared. Because she needed comfort more than he needed warmth. But that is not logical. Yuna laughed softly. No, it's human. Later, Tovan found a Vareth soldier lying in the rubble. The soldier was wounded badly. His leg was crushed under fallen stone, and dark blood pooled beneath him. He was dying. Tovan expected the humans to ignore him, or kill him quickly. Instead, Yuna knelt beside the enemy and began treating his wounds. What are you doing? Tovan asked. My job. She did not look up. Her hands worked fast. Applying pressure. Stopping blood. He's hurt. He is the enemy. He was trying to kill you. He's not fighting now. Yuna's voice was calm. Certain. Now he's just someone who's hurt. The Vareth soldier looked up at her with confused eyes. He said something in his own language. Tovan did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. The soldier was afraid. You're okay, Yuna said, even though the soldier could not understand her. I've got you. You're okay. That night, Tovan deleted his first report. He started again. I have made a critical error, he wrote. I assumed humans were primitive warriors. Emotional, undisciplined, weak. He stopped typing. His hands were shaking. I was wrong. These are not primitive warriors. They are something far more dangerous. They are warriors who have not forgotten how to be kind. He stared at the words for a long time. Then he added one more line. I do not know what to make of them. I only know that I am beginning to understand why the Council fears them. He saved the report. Outside his window, humans prepared for tomorrow's battle. Some of them were laughing. They sent me to watch humans at war, and I regret it deeply. By the 7th day, Tovan had stopped thinking of himself as an observer. He still carried no weapon. He still wore no armor. But he had learned to carry water bottles for the soldiers when they were too tired to reach for them. He had learned to hold flashlights steady while Yuna treated wounds in dark corners. He had learned the names of every soldier in the squad, and they had learned his. The war was not going well. The Vareth had fortified the central mining complex, the heart of the colony. Their shields made direct assault impossible. Every approach was covered by heavy weapons. Human forces had tried 3 times to break through. 3 times, they had failed. On the 7th night, Tovan was invited to a strategy meeting. He sat in the corner of a small room and watched human officers argue about how to win. Maps covered the walls. Screens showed troop movements. Captain Unji, the battalion commander, stood at the center of it all. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a voice that carried authority. When she spoke, others listened. Option 1, she said. Full frontal assault. We throw everything we have at the main entrance. Estimated casualties. 40%. The room was silent. Option 2. Flanking attack through the eastern tunnels. The tunnels are unstable. If they collapse, we lose everyone inside. Estimated casualties. 60% if it fails. 20% if it succeeds. More silence. Option 3. Siege. We surround them and wait them out. Could take months. The Vareth have prisoners, civilians. We don't know if they'll survive that long. An officer raised his hand. What about the maintenance tunnels? The old ones from when the mine was first built? Captain Yunji shook her head. Narrow. Dark. We'd have to go in small teams. If we're caught, there's no retreat. But the casualties would be lower. If it works. Unji looked around the room. If it doesn't, we lose the team and gain nothing. Tovan watched the humans think. He saw the weight on their faces. They were not calculating victory. They were calculating lives. Finally, Captain Yunji spoke. "We go with the maintenance tunnels. Small team, surgical strike. Disable their shields, then full assault." She paused. "I won't order anyone into those tunnels. Volunteers only." Every hand in the room went up. The team was chosen. Sergeant Ji Hea's squad, plus 2 specialists. One of them was a young man named Hyun Woo. He was barely 20 years old, a child, by Tovin's species standards. His face still had the softness of youth. "You are very young," Tovin said to him, as they prepared to enter the tunnels. Hyunwoo smiled nervously. "Old enough to fight. Old enough to make a difference. Are you not afraid?" The young soldier's smile faded. He looked at the dark entrance of the tunnel, then back at Tovin. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "I've been terrified since I landed on this planet. I throw up every morning before combat. I can't sleep. I have nightmares." "Then why do you continue?" Hyunwoo thought about it. "Because someone has to. Because if I don't, someone else will have to go in my place. Someone with a family. Maybe. Kids." He shrugged. "I don't have anyone waiting for me back home. If I die, the universe loses one scared kid. That's easier than losing someone who matters." Tovin felt something twist in his chest. "You matter." Hyunwoo blinked, surprised. Then he laughed, a sad, gentle sound. "Thanks. That's nice of you to say." They entered the tunnels. The darkness was absolute. Human flashlights cut through it, but only barely. The walls were close, pressing in on all sides. Tovin had to bend his body to fit through some passages. The squad moved in silence. No talking. No humming. Even Tyson was quiet. His wounded shoulder wrapped tight. His heavy weapon held ready. Tovan had never known fear like this. His people froze when afraid. They shut down, became helpless. He could feel that instinct pulling at him now. The urge to stop moving, to curl up, to disappear. But the humans kept moving, so he kept moving too. 2 hours into the tunnel, Hyunwoo spoke softly to Tovan. "I've never told anyone that before," he said. "About being scared. About thinking I don't matter. Why did you tell me?" "I don't know." Hyunwoo's young face was pale in the flashlight's glow. "Maybe because you're not human. Maybe because you won't judge me." "I do not judge you. I only wish to understand." "Understand what?" Tovin thought about it. "How you keep going. All of you. You feel fear, but you move. You feel pain, but you fight. You feel sadness, but you smile." He shook his head. "How you keep going. My people cannot do this. When we feel these things, we stop. We cannot function." Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. "Maybe that's the human thing," he said finally. "We feel everything and do things anyway." The ambush came without warning. One moment, the tunnel was empty. The next, plasma fire filled the air. Tovin hit the ground. He did not choose to, his body simply collapsed, overwhelmed by fear. Around him, the squad responded. They returned fire, shouting, moving in the darkness. "Hyunwoo, behind you." The young soldier turned. Not fast enough. The plasma bolt hit him in the back. He fell. Tovin heard someone screaming. It took him a moment to realize it was himself. The firefight lasted 30 seconds. When it was over, 4 Varith lay dead. The squad was intact. Except for Hyunwoo. Yuna reached him first. She turned him over, and Tovin saw her face go pale. "Spine damage," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "He can't feel his legs." Hyunwoo looked up at her. His eyes were wide with pain and fear. "Am I going to die?" "No." Yuna grabbed his hand. "No. You're not dying today. I won't let you. My legs. We'll worry about that later. Right now, you're alive. Focus on that." Sergeant Jihei knelt beside them. We have to move. There will be more. He can't walk, Yuna said. Then we carry him. Tovan stared. Carry him? Through 2 kilometers of hostile tunnel? Jihei looked at him. Her face was stone. We don't leave people behind. Ever. Taesun stepped forward. His wounded shoulder was bleeding again. He had torn something during the fight. But he bent down and lifted Hyunwoo onto his back without hesitation. I've got you, kid, he said. Just hold on. You're hurt. Hyunwoo protested weakly. And you're heavier than you look. We'll call it even. They moved. The next hour was the longest of Tovan's life. Taesun carried Hyunwoo through tunnels so narrow they had to turn sideways. His shoulder bled. His breath came in gasps. But he did not stop. When they encountered more Vareth, the squad fought while protecting their wounded. Jihye took a hit to her side. She kept fighting. A soldier named Minsu was hit in the arm. He switched his weapon to his other hand and kept fighting. They lost no one. They reached the shield generator as dawn broke on the surface above. Jihye planted the explosives while Yuna worked on Hyunwoo, trying to stabilize him enough for evacuation. Taesun stood guard, swaying on his feet but refusing to sit down. We have 3 minutes, Jihye said. Move. They ran. The explosion behind them shook the mountain. The Vareth shields flickered and died. Above, human forces began their assault. In the medical bay later, Tovan watched Yuna fight to save Hyunwoo's legs. The doctor said it was unlikely he would ever walk again. The damage was too severe. Yuna refused to accept it. He's 20 years old, she said. Her voice cracked. He has his whole life ahead of him. He deserves to walk. Quote, she worked for 6 hours straight. Tovan sat outside the room and waited. When she finally emerged, her face was exhausted but proud. He'll walk, she said. It'll take time. Therapy. Hard work. But he'll walk. That night, Tovan deleted all his previous reports. He wrote one sentence. I understand now why the Council fears humans. It is not their weapons. It is not their tactics. It is that they love each other enough to die for each other and hate their enemies too little to become monsters. He stared at the words for a long time. Then he added, I am no longer an observer. I do not know what I am now. But I know I cannot go back to who I was before. He saved the report. He did not send it. They sent me to watch humans at war, and I regret it deeply. The 12th day was the day the war ended. It was also the day Tovan stopped believing he understood anything at all. The Vareth shields were down. Human forces had pushed through the outer defenses and surrounded the central command complex. Victory was close. Everyone could feel it. But victory had a price, and Tovan was about to learn how humans paid it. The morning began with a message from the Vareth commander. His voice crackled through the communication system, cold and confident. Humans. We have 47 of your people in our cells. Prisoners from the colony. Women. Children. If you do not withdraw within 1 hour, we will execute them all. One by one. Starting with the youngest. The message ended. Tovan watched Lieutenant Do-hyun receive the news. He saw the man's face go pale. Then, hard. He saw the muscles in his jaw tighten. How do we respond? An officer asked. Do-hyun was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was flat, dead. Tell them this. Release the prisoners, and you can surrender with honor. Keep them. And we're coming through that door. Sir, they'll kill the hostages. They might. Or they might be bluffing. Do-hyun's eyes were dark. But if we pull back now, we tell every enemy in the galaxy that taking human prisoners is a winning strategy. We can't do that. We won't. The response was sent. The Vareth commander did not reply. At noon, the assault began. Tovan had seen combat before. He thought he understood what war looked like. He was wrong. This was not a fight. This was humans unleashed. They came from every direction at once. Through doors, through windows, through holes blown in walls. They moved like a single creature. 1,000 bodies with one purpose. The Vareth tried to stop them. They failed. Tovin stayed with Sergeant Jihei's squad as they pushed into the complex. The fighting was close and brutal. He saw humans die. A young woman named Soman was in the lead when they rounded a corner. She saw the Vareth soldier raising his weapon. She saw that Tovin was directly behind her. Exposed, she stepped in front of him. The explosion threw them both to the ground. When Tovin looked up, Soman was not moving. "No," Yuna scrambled to her side. No, but it was too late. Soman's eyes were open, staring at nothing. A smile was still frozen on her face, the same smile she had given Tovin that morning. When she shared her breakfast with him, "She knew you," Tovin whispered. "She knew me for 12 days. Why did she?" "Because you were behind her." Jihei's voice was hard. Her eyes were wet. "Because that's what we do." They kept moving. The prisoners were found on the lowest level of the complex. 47 humans, locked in cells, terrified and starving. When the squad broke down the door, they cried. They screamed. They reached through the bars toward their rescuers. "We've got you," Taesun said, breaking the locks one by one. "You're safe now. You're all safe." The Vareth commander was found in his office. He was alone, unarmed, sitting behind his desk as if waiting for a meeting. When the humans burst through his door, he simply raised his hands. "I surrender," he said. His voice was calm. "The war is over." Tovin waited for the violence. He had seen what the humans had lost today. Soman. 3 others from different squads. Wounded beyond counting. He had heard the screaming of children in those cells. He had seen the bodies of prisoners who had not survived the occupation. Surely now the humans would show their true nature. Surely now the rage would come. Lieutenant Do-hyun stepped forward. His uniform was torn. Blood his own, and others stained his face. His hands were shaking. He looked at the Vareth commander for a long moment. Then he said, "Under the terms of interstellar law, I accept your surrender. You will be treated as a prisoner of war and given all rights and protections under those laws." The Vareth commander blinked. "You're not going to kill me?" "No. I ordered the deaths of 17 of your prisoners. The ones who tried to escape." Do-hyun's face twitched. Tovan saw the fury there, burning just beneath the surface. He saw the man's hands clench into fists, but his voice remained steady. "You'll face trial for that. A fair trial. With evidence and lawyers and judges. That's how we do things, even after everything, especially after everything." Do-hyun turned away. "Get him out of my sight before I change my mind." Later, Tovin found Jihei sitting alone in a ruined hallway. Her side was bandaged, the wound from the tunnels had reopened during the assault. Her face was empty. "We won," Tovin said. "Yeah. You do not seem happy." Jihei looked at him. Her eyes were red. Soman was 23. She wanted to be a teacher when she got out. She used to read stories to the kids in the refugee camps, using different voices for each character. She was going to be so good at it. Tovin did not know what to say. "The Vareth soldier who killed her, his body is 3 floors up. I could have shot him even after he fell, made sure he suffered." Jihei's voice was quiet. "I didn't. I walked past him. Let the medics decide if he lived or died." "Why?" "Because Soman wouldn't have wanted me to become that person." Jihei wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Because the moment I start enjoying killing, I stop being human." That night, Tovin found Lieutenant Do-hyun sitting on the roof of the complex, looking up at the stars. He was crying. The tears fell silently down his face, and he made no move to wipe them away. He simply sat there, shoulders shaking, staring at the sky. Tovin sat beside him. He did not speak. After a long time, Do-hyun said, "We won." "Yes. So why does it feel like this?" Tovin thought about it. "I do not know. My people do not fight wars. We do not have this experience." "Lucky you." Do-hyun laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You know what's funny? Tomorrow, there's going to be a celebration. Medals, speeches, everyone talking about heroes and victory and honor." He shook his head. And all I'll be able to think about is the kids who didn't come home. Is that wrong? No. Do-hyun wiped his face. No. I think it's the only thing that keeps us human. The moment we stop mourning, the moment we start thinking of casualties as numbers instead of people, that's when we become monsters. Tovin remembered the Varith commander. The cold voice. The easy threat to kill children. He understood the difference. I have been watching your species for 12 days, Tovin said slowly. I was sent to observe how humans fight, to report on your tactics, your weapons, your weaknesses. Do-hyun looked at him. And what have you learned? Tovin was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I have learned that you are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because of your weapons or your tactics, but because you fight while still caring. You kill while still mourning. You win while still weeping. He turned to look at Do-hyun. Any species can be taught to destroy. That is easy. But your people destroy, and then cry for what you have destroyed. You are warriors who have not forgotten how to grieve. Do-hyun said nothing. That is why you are dangerous, Tovin continued. Because you will never become the monsters you fight. You will carry the weight of every death, enemy and friend alike. And you will keep fighting anyway. Not for glory, not for conquest, but because someone has to. The stars wheeled overhead, distant and cold. I do not know if I can explain this to the council, Tovin admitted. I do not know if they will believe me. I do not know if they will believe me. Do-hyun smiled a small, sad smile. Then tell them about Salmon, he said. Tell them about a girl who stepped in front of an explosion to save an alien she barely knew. Tell them about Tae-soon carrying a wounded soldier through 2 kilometers of tunnel. Tell them about Yuna treating enemy soldiers while her friends bled. He looked at Tovin. Tell them the truth. Humans are terrifying because we love. Tovin watched the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was waiting for his report. He did not know what he would tell them, but he knew it would not be what they expected. Number they sent me to watch humans at war, and I regret it deeply. 3 months later, Tovin stood once again in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. The room was the same as before. The same curved walls. The same hovering platforms. The same hundreds of beings from 100 different worlds, watching with their many eyes. But Tovin was not the same. He was thinner now. The soft blue of his skin had changed darker in some places, lighter in others. Marks of stress, his people would call them, signs of a mind that had been stretched beyond its limits and forced to grow. Elder Miran floated beside him. The old Keyleth looked worried. The council expects a tactical report, Miran said quietly. Weapons analysis, strategic vulnerabilities, things they can use. I know what they expect, Tovin said. Will you give it to them? Tovin did not answer. The arbiter of the council, a tall being made of living crystal, spoke. Observer Tovin of the Keyleth. You were sent to study humanity at war. You have returned. We await your report. Tovin stepped forward. His legs were steady, though his hearts were not. Honored council, he began. 3 months ago, you sent me to observe human military operations during the conflict at Heron 7. You asked me to assess humanity as a potential threat to galactic stability. You wanted to know their weaknesses, their limits, their breaking points. He paused. I cannot give you what you asked for. A murmur ran through the chamber. Beings shifted on their platforms. Someone spoke in a language Tovin did not understand. Their voice sharp with disapproval. The arbiter raised a hand for silence. Explain. Tovin took a breath. I cannot give you a tactical assessment, because what I witnessed was not tactics. It was not strategy. It was something else entirely. Something I do not have words for in my own language. He looked around the chamber, meeting eyes of every shape and color. Let me tell you about a soldier named Tae-soon. The room was silent. Tae-soon was a heavy weapons specialist. On the 7th day of the campaign, he was wounded, plasma burn to the shoulder. A serious injury. By our standards, he should have withdrawn. He should have sought medical attention and let others continue the mission. Tovin's voice was steady. Instead, he carried a wounded comrade through 2 kilometers of hostile tunnel. His shoulder was bleeding. He could barely stand, but there was a young soldier, a boy named Hyunwoo, who could not walk, and Tai-soon refused to leave him behind. He let the words settle. This is not logical. This is not tactical. A commander calculating victory would say that Tai-soon should have abandoned Hyunwoo. The mission was more important than one soldier. The math was clear. He shook his head. But humans do not calculate like we do. They do not weigh lives against outcomes. They simply refuse to leave each other behind. Elder Miran shifted uncomfortably beside him. Tovan continued, "Let me tell you about a medic named Yuna." The chamber was very quiet now. Yuna was trained to save lives. That was her purpose. But in the middle of battle, she did something I did not expect. She found a wounded Vareth soldier, an enemy, dying in the rubble, and she treated his wounds. I asked her why. The Vareth had been trying to kill her moments before. They had killed her friends. They were holding human prisoners, threatening to execute children. She said, "He's not fighting now. Now he's just someone who's hurt." Tovan let the silence stretch. "This is what I cannot explain to you," he said. "This is why I cannot give you a tactical report. Because human warfare is not about destruction. It is about protection. They do not fight to kill. They fight to save." A being from the far side of the chamber spoke, a Vareth delegate, Tovan noticed. Their voice was cold. "You were sent to observe humanity's weaknesses. Surely their compassion is a weakness." Tovan turned to face the speaker. "That is what I thought. On my first day, I watched them laugh and tell stories the night before battle. I wrote in my report that they were unaware of their mortality. I thought their kindness made them weak." His voice hardened. "I was wrong." He stepped forward, toward the center of the chamber. "Let me tell you about a soldier named Salmon." No one spoke. Salmon was 23 years old. She wanted to be a teacher. She used to read stories to refugee children, using different voices for each character. She was kind and gentle, and full of dreams. Tovan's voice caught. He forced himself to continue. "On the 12th day of the campaign, Salmon and I were moving through a hostile building. A Vareth soldier raised his weapon. I was directly behind her, exposed. I could not move. My body had frozen the Keyleth response to fear. Salmon stepped in front of me. The chamber was utterly silent. She knew me for 12 days. I was an alien observer. I had no value to her mission. There was no strategic reason to save me. But she stepped in front of that weapon without hesitation. She died protecting me." Tovan looked around the chamber. "This is what you do not understand about humans. This is what no tactical report can explain. Their compassion is not a weakness. Their love is not a flaw. It is the source of their strength." He raised his voice. "If you go to war with humanity, they will not stop. Not because they are bloodthirsty. Not because they desire conquest. But because every soldier they lose makes the others fight harder. Their grief becomes fuel. Their love becomes armor. They will carry their wounded through fire. They will mourn their enemies. They will hate what war makes them do, and do it anyway. And when it is over, they will cry for everyone who died, including yours." The arbiter spoke. "You are saying humanity cannot be defeated?" "No." Tovan shook his head. "Any species can be defeated. But to defeat humanity, you would have to kill all of them. Every last one. Because they will never stop fighting for each other. Never." He looked at the Vareth delegate. "You can slaughter their armies. They will send more. You can bomb their cities. They will rebuild. You can kill their children, and their parents will come for you with their bare hands. Because humans do not fight for territory or resources or power. They fight for each other. And there is no weapon in the galaxy that can kill love." The chamber erupted into chaos. Beings shouted in a dozen languages. Some called for Tovan's removal. Others demanded more information. The arbiter struck the floor 3 times, calling for order. When the noise finally died, Elder Miran spoke. "Observer Tovan, the Council finds your report unsatisfactory. It lacks the data we requested. It contains no actionable intelligence." Tovan bowed his head. "I understand. However," Miran's voice softened, We do not doubt your honesty. Your account will be recorded and archived. Perhaps someday, we will understand what you have tried to tell us. I doubt it, Toven said quietly. I spent 3 months with humans, and I barely understand it myself. The council was dismissed. Toven returned to his quarters and began packing his few belongings. He was not sure where he would go next. His mission was complete. His species had no further use for him. He was reaching for his travel bag when his computer chimed. A message. From Earth. Toven opened it with trembling fingers. The message was from Lieutenant Do-hyun. It contained only a few lines of text and an attachment. Toven. We heard you were finished with the council. Hyun-woo wanted me to send you this. He started walking last week. Physical therapy is hard, but he says he's not giving up. He says if Tae-sun could carry him through those tunnels, he can learn to use his legs again. The squad took a vote. Unanimous. We want you to come visit. Earth, I mean. See where we come from. Meet our families. Yuna wants to show you the ocean. Tae-sun wants to introduce you to his cat. And Hyun-woo says he owes you a drink. We paid for your transport. Tickets attached. Non-refundable, so you have to come. We miss you, Toven. You're one of us now. Toven stared at the message for a long time. Then he opened the attachment. It was a video. Hyun-woo, standing on shaking legs, supported by metal braces and a nurse on each side. He was grinning. Hey, Toven. Hyun-woo called, waving at the camera. Look at me. I'm walking. Well, sort of. It hurts like hell, but I'm doing it. Behind him, Toven could see other figures. Tae-sun, giving a thumbs up with his good arm. Yuna, crying and laughing at the same time. Ji-hye, her face hard but her eyes soft. Come visit, Hyun-woo said. I want to thank you in person. For listening to me. In the tunnels. When I said I didn't matter. His voice wobbled. You told me I did. I think about that a lot. The video ended. Toven sat in silence. Then he downloaded the ticket. 3 weeks later, Toven stood on a beach on Earth. The ocean stretched before him, vast and blue and endless. Waves crashed against the shore. The wind smelled like salt and life. Yuna stood beside him. What do you think? Toven watched the water. He thought about everything he had seen. The battles. The deaths. The impossible. Stubborn. Beautiful love that humans carried with them like a shield. I was sent to watch humans at war, he said slowly. And I regret it deeply. Yuna looked at him, concerned. Why? Toven turned to face her. Behind them, on the sand, the others were setting up a celebration. Tae-sun was arguing about how to start a fire. Hyun-woo was sitting in a chair, his legs still weak, but his smile bright. Do-hyun was laughing at something Ji-hye had said. Because I found something I did not expect, Toven said. I found a species worth believing in. And now I must spend the rest of my life knowing that my own people may never understand what I understand. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she took his hand. You don't have to make them understand, she said. You just have to understand yourself. And you do. That's enough. Toven looked at the ocean. He looked at the humans behind him. He looked at the endless sky. He thought about his final report. The one he had written on his last night in the chamber. The one he had not submitted. It ended with a single line. I was sent to watch humans at war. I found something I did not expect. I found a species worth believing in. He had not sent it to the council. But perhaps that was right. Some truths were not meant for reports. Some truths were meant to be lived. Toven squeezed Yuna's hand. Thank you, he said. For what? For showing me what it means to be human. Yuna smiled. You're not human, Toven. No, he agreed. But perhaps I can learn. Behind them, Tae-sun finally got the fire started, and the squad cheered. Hyun-woo laughed. Do-hyun raised a drink. Toven turned away from the ocean and walked toward them, toward the fire, toward home.